Welcome back. All right, so something else I watched today was Devil's Rejects, and I got through it. I did it. It was likely helped by the fact that I did watch House of a Thousand Corpses. It is completely different. Like, there's no the tone is so completely different than House of a Thousand Corpses. Um, and yet it's still it's the same family, it's the same setup. Uh, it like I'm just asking myself, did I enjoy the movie? And in the end of it, I think the answer was, I mean, on some level, there were parts that I thought were okay, but again, for me, it's the over the top gore, the over the top um, torture, that kind of thing. I don't do that. Now, it wasn't as long and torturous as say like a movie like Hostel, right? But it still there was some really queasy moments. It's one of those things where it feels very visceral. It feels very real. I will say that Rob Zombie's created villains that feel like real people, like they have their own personalities. I did kind of get a kick out of the fact that they'll just start arguing and swearing at each other. I did get a kick out of that part that they would just kind of turn on each other for no reason, for nothing, right? Over ice cream. That might have been part of what I really found entertaining, and I kind of wish he had spent more time on the family dynamic and on just the relationships between the various members of the Firefly family. But in the end, it is excessive. That's how it's set up. That's how it's designed to work. And I know I won't watch it again. That's also one that I would not be recommending for my wife. She would not make it more than, I would say, maybe 10 minutes, and she'd be out. I think that'd be it for the reasons I outlined. That it's very realistic. It's very, yeah. It's too realistic for her. I mean, the Friday the 13th, the Elm Streets, that kind of thing. Those are fun, and it's not a fun movie. And I understand that, like, not all horror has to be fun. I can also understand why this is the favorite movie of the Rob Zombie movies. Although I will say, and I've said this before, I think that his version of Halloween had some very interesting ideas. It had some pretty darn good scenes in it that get weighed down by the subject matter. Now, I mentioned in the Resident Evil review that I just did, and I'm posting to the channel now, that the Resident Evil series is kind of weighed down a little bit by its own name, and if it was an independent property where they could create their own universe, it might be a better show. Sometimes with the Halloween movie, I felt like, if instead of this being Michael Myers as a kid, if it was just somebody else, this could be a really good origin story for a serial killer. This, you could have left it with him as a kid and just showed him evolving into being that killer for that hour and a half, and then part two would be the next step from that. But because you have to have the famous name attached to it, you have to have Michael Myers, Halloween, then he had to shoehorn in basically the original movie into 20 minutes of, it felt like 20 minutes of screen time, just to make sure he hit all the important plot points, and it was too bad. It was too bad. I thought there were some good, like, I know there were a lot of people didn't like Kid Michael Myers, I think because it was Michael Myers. I think that was what a big part of it was. I thought it was an interesting take. I thought, okay, wow, we heard him talk. Like, the villains that don't speak, at some point you're like, all right, they know how to talk, right? Jason Voorhees knows how to talk. I think I know I've mentioned this in videos before. I read the book for Friday the 13th, Part 6. There was a book, there was an actual novel, and it had words in it, and it was about 180, 200 pages long. It actually had a storyline to it, and it explained why Jason killed, which the movies never did. It explained as well that he did talk, that he had to go and see a counselor. The counselor got mad because there was nothing wrong with Jason. There was nothing wrong with him physically to prevent him from being able to speak. So he got right up in his face and he yelled and screamed and yelled and screamed and said, I know you can talk, can't you? Jason said, yes. The doctor figured it was a huge breakthrough. Jason never spoke again. That psychiatrist went mad because he could not make Jason speak a second time. And so he did everything he could, and Jason would not speak that second time. To me, that story was more interesting than almost anything I'd ever seen in a Friday the 13th movie. And I think with with guys like Michael Myers, with Freddy Krueger as well, if you tell the backstory right, if you show bits and pieces of backstory properly and you do it the right way, you won't offend people or upset people nearly as much. People are going to get upset and offended. It's the internet. Of course they will. But you can do it in a way that makes sense with the source material and really gives you a different view of the killer. And so I will say this for Devil's Rejects, they try to give you, I'm not going to say a motivation because there really isn't one other than chaos, but they at least give you at least a little bit of a window into the family, kind of, sort of. Where the movie I thought was kind of weak was the sheriff that was hunting him down. I wasn't a fan, and then when he's got them imprisoned, I was like, I know how this ends. I know what's gonna happen. I've seen this in so many horror movies, so that kind of took me out of it. And that's the problem, is once I'm taken out of it, like, okay, I know he's not going to kill them. He should. He's supposed to. It's what he said he was going to do. I know he's not going to do it. So these scenes are kind of a waste. So that's the problem I had with it. But outside of that, I mean, entertaining. It definitely does not overstay its welcome. Um, there's some offensive stuff in there that's definitely meant to be offensive as well, which is fine. It's a horror movie. And if you get offended by a certain joke that's told by somebody in a movie where you watch people get horrifically murdered and butchered, you might be focusing on the wrong thing. But yeah, Rob Zombie, I do think, and I mentioned this in the video yesterday, there's a good filmmaker there. And I really think what would help him would be a second set of eyes, a second person, almost like a Spielberg type, where he would have these crazy, ridiculous ideas, and then that other really well thought of director who makes really good movies goes, okay, that's a good idea, Rob. What if we did this? Or that's a good idea. Why don't we tweak that and do this way? And I think if there was that kind of a voice there, I think you could make a lot of really good movies. Horror movies have become, they're different now than they used to be. It feels like now it's more about the gore than it is about anything else. And I've never watched a movie just because there's gore in it. That's never been a thing. I've never gone into a movie saying, "Oh, I hear the gore's great in this." That's it's not my thing. Even though I watched all the Evil Dead movies, including the new one, and I love the Evil Dead movie, the remake with Fede Alvarez directing. What I loved about that was that it took the story and it told it in a different manner. It could have happened over any time period. You didn't see cell phones. Um, I think I read that there was a scene with a cell phone and they took it out. But yeah, it's something. It's something that they built this universe. It still had the Evil Dead name on it, and yet they made it something original. And I thought that was good. I thought it was well done. I thought the music was on point. I thought that Mia was a terrifying villain who then became a very nice, sympathetic hero. And I was really looking forward to seeing what Jane Levy would do next. And instead, no. If I like a role with Jane Levy in it, it generally gets canceled. Doesn't matter whether it's a movie, whether it's a TV show. Jane Levy, if you're watching this, I apologize. I'm apparently ruining your career by being a fan. I will stop. But getting back to the Rob Zombie side of things, I do think that there's again, like I said yesterday, I think there's a good filmmaker there. I do. I think that there's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack there. Devil's Rejects is going to be a movie that people are watching decades from now. Who knows? Maybe even centuries from now, right? We just don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, I see. The thing is, I don't want to say enjoyed. Enjoyed sounds wrong. But was I interested? I was interested in what was going to happen next. I was interested in what was going to happen and to Captain Spaulding. And I did get. I had heard there was a Thelma and Louise style ending. I totally get the Thelma and Louise theme to it. He did kind of make the Firefly family out to be the heroes by the end of it, which I thought was kind of messed up. I thought that was really messed up because I'm like, wait a minute. These people have done horrible, horrible things to innocent people. We can't make them heroes. That's not a good idea. So, yeah. Anyways, there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. I just felt like I had to do this follow-up after yesterday's video on Rob Zombie. I'll be talking other wrestling stuff too over the next, I would say, week because it feels like it's going to be a busy week too. So stay tuned to this channel as well. Picked up over 200 subscribers yesterday. Ridiculous. But thank you guys so much, everybody who's subscribed. It is various items. I may talk about music, movies, or TV shows, and of course, wrestling being on the table as well. So tune in for all of that between now and then. Hopefully everybody takes care. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.